You think you really know the fairer sex, don't you? That you've cracked the code to interpreting her subtle cues, inscrutable moods, and seemingly paradoxical conduct? Well, prepare to have your mind blown to pieces. Because when it comes to the psychological mechanics underpinning female behavior, us guys are often laughably clueless. What we perceive as inexplicable, irrational flightiness is frequently the product of an entirely alien psychology influenced by innate biological hardwiring we barely understand. Indeed, the rapidly expanding field of female psychology has uncovered a dizzying array of deeply entrenched gender-specific tendencies sculpted by eons of evolution. Mental patterns that shape how modern women think, feel, prioritize, and respond in ways that make a stunning amount of sense when viewed through the proper analytical lens. From the bedroom to the boardroom and everywhere in between, understanding this scientific framework for her psychology is the master key to figuring out what's really motivating her actions, even when she can't articulate it herself. More importantly, it gives you the tools to restructure your behavior and communication style to harmonize with her neurological receptors in optimal ways. And gents, cracking this psychological code is a one-way trip to intimacy nirvana. It's the unfair advantage to forging deeper emotional connections, avoiding cringeworthy misunderstandings, and detonating uncontainable romantic friction in any heterosexual interaction. Don't believe me? Let's dive into some of the most explosively eye-opening scientific insights about female psychology that'll leave you gobsmacked. 1. The effort perk in how minor favors plant massive attraction seeds. Forget the cinematic romantic gestures and over-the-top chivalry. According to a series of studies in female attraction psychology, the behavioral trait that separates the forgettable men from the smoldering objects of obsession is checking her gas tank and topping it off before handing her keys back. Yep, seemingly inconsequential favors embedded with subtle effort cues are proven to trigger subconscious attraction hardwiring deep within the feminine psyche. They function as potent psychological aphrodisiacs overriding external factors like body type and financial status. The phenomenon, dubbed the effort perk effect by researchers, rests on her primal circuitry for detecting behavioral red flags about a man's willingness to make baby-rearing sacrifices in potential long-term relationships. No matter how throwaway the gesture, she subconsciously transcodes demonstrations of upfront, thoughtful effort into powerful forecasts of paternal investment and protection down the road. Making matters worse for the lazy, a slew of experiments revealed that her appreciation of these seemingly trivial gestures compounds exponentially the less you make any sort of outward romantic overtures. More forward attempts to woo her can often backfire and shut the hardwiring down. But simply being a modest, thoughtful gentleman whose actions communicate selfless prioritization of her approval? That's pure gasoline on the raging fire of neurological attraction triggers. Deploy wisely, fellas. 2. Emotional contagion and the dangers of male stoicism. For decades, popular wisdom about attracting partners has pushed an archetype of stoic masculinity. The strong, silent emotional rock that weathers life's storms with steadfast ruggedness. Well, modern psychology is here to shatter that delusion into a million shards of ineffective falsity. See, what we've categorized as admirable manliness is actually perceived and internalized by the female psyche as emotional constipation at best, and an actively repulsive red flag about long-term compatibility at worst. It turns out her biological intuition interprets a smooth emotional flatline as a warning of future psychological deprivation and affection scarcity. The phenomenon dubbed emotional contagion by researchers explains how emotional states can be effortlessly transmitted between people via direct osmosis. And the female brain contains vastly more biochemical conductors wiring her neural networks to be an emotional sponge, hungrily soaking up and acutely reciprocating every nuanced feeling state projected onto her unconscious radar. Denying her access to those transmission channels is tantamount to relational death in her psychological cognition. Essentially, she experiences the stoic withholding of expressive vulnerability as a traumatic starving of her most primal joining imperative, leaving her unlikely to ever reach that deeper appetite of bonding yearning below. The high-value males with their choice of romantic partners bathe their dynamics in richly phased emotional landscapes. They oscillate between intense emotional fluidity and inviting blankets of strength to create transcendent mutual experiences of ephemeral ecstasy and safety. something the silent he-mans of yesteryear never understood in their futile fumbling attempts toward containing their passions. Three, periodic bouts of irrationality, courtesy of Mother Nature. We've all been there, trying to navigate a thorny issue with a wife or girlfriend only to be confronted by unexpected turbulence. An abrupt, seemingly meteorological shift in our emotions, communication patterns, and overall sanity detectors that defies all logic and sense. Before you dismiss it as standard chaos or attention-seeking instability, know that those periodic bouts of utterly perplexing irrationality could very well be hardwired into our biological psychology beyond our conscious control. See, while it's speculative territory, the leading scientific theory about those hell-bent monthly mood tornadoes involves differing hormone levels creating brief but intense disconnects between her emotional brain and neurochemical self. Essentially, ambient shifts in hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and even testosterone can temporarily rewire the circuitry moderating her outward behavior and perceptive filters. What this means is that you're often not arguing with her at her rational, composed best. You're ensnared in combat with an emotionally destabilized imitation. A subtle yet significant psychological hijacking where her standard personality algorithms have been distorted in subtle but exponentially fragmenting ways outside her full control. Does that make her behavior any less maddening in the heat of the discord? Not at all. But understanding the subterranean biological factors beyond her influence should help manufacture patience, empathy, and the wisdom not to take her transient unreasonability as a personal reflection of your overall dynamic. The path of least resistance is often to ride out the storm and reinitiate important conversations when her inner software has rebooted to factory approval settings. After all, trying to introduce logic in winning points rarely computes with an intellectually disoriented operating system. Wait for the hormonal Morse code interference bending her internal realities to pass, and you'll have far better luck translating your meanings. 4. Her hidden competitive drive and need for unconscious status cues. Having spent their entire lives conditioned to assume female psychology was relationally oriented, most men are unsurprised to learn that women possess all the cutthroat competitive wiring of their male counterparts. Manifesting through different cultural channels, sure, but essentially the same neurological machinery pushing her into perpetual contests of perception and power. Granted, her motives and chosen battlefields differ from stereotypical masculinity. Rather than the overt arena of professional ranks or athletic domination, her arenas of war are the more abstract spheres of social posturing, household resource control, and primacy within male-female relationship escalations. But make no mistake, her famously subtle communication indirectness is merely the smoke concealing a very intentional arsenal of psychological weaponry designed to continually angle for ascendancy. That sly demurring and express deference is calculated disarmament, used to lull potential threats into suppressing their own competitive defenses so she might co-opt new fiefdoms of influence to subjugate incrementally over time. Underestimate this innate hardwiring at your own romantic peril. What you think is neutral feminine congeniality is often a chess master's reconnaissance mission to probe for exploitable psychological purchase. To unilaterally force compromise and concession will invite blistering retaliatory maneuvers designed to corral you into more pliant compliance. Maintaining the sanctity of your autonomy and self-respect requires refusing to placate comfortable norms of power sharing. Return every chess gambit attempted with tactful maneuvers asserting your sovereign constitution. Never fail to punish overreaches, and yet remain unperturbed by her sneaky feints at undermining your unfettered male authority. In this psychological Cold War, only resolute confidence and immutable frames of alpha composure can secure your kingdom. Understanding these psychological truths is invaluable for building healthier, more authentic connections with the women in your life. Whether it's the neurological mechanisms fueling her attraction or the hormonal changes affecting her rationality, this knowledge offers insight into her inner workings. With this understanding, you'll finally comprehend the reasons behind her seemingly inscrutable behavior. Those mixed messages and hot/cold cycles will no longer seem mysterious but will be seen as predictable psychological responses. Grasping the biological influences on her behavior helps you relate with understanding and respect. You'll stop judging her periodic irrationality harshly and start navigating it with wisdom and patience. You'll recognize her social tests as reflexive behaviors rather than intentional challenges. Her psychology, though sometimes confounding, is an intelligent system optimized for evolutionary success. Understanding this blueprint makes her actions logical and her mixed signals, competitiveness, and selective reinforcement of resourceful men comprehensible. The path to a successful relationship involves using this knowledge to guide your actions. Express emotional richness, handle her social tests confidently, and demonstrate virtues that trigger her attraction mechanisms. Ultimately, she's evaluating your capacity to cherish, protect, and inspire her. Master these keys, and you'll become her obsessive fixation, searing your presence into her memory and ensuring her perpetual desire and devotion.